Hello, my friends. Jacob is here one more time, and are you in for just the most bizarre, most complex, most terrifying, speculative story that you're gonna hear all year? And why wouldn't it be so incredibly weird, especially since it's 2023, which is backwards for 322, the Skull and Bones, which also happens to be the symbol for terrible hazardous spills. Now that's quite a coincidence, and a spooky one, especially with the terrible, terrible tragedy that happened in Ohio. A lot of this stuff, it's just too much for even me to bear. So what I do, because I'm a writer, I take all of these stories, and of course I turn it into something that would make an amazing movie. So the things we're going to talk about, I don't want you to be too scared about this stuff. This is just kind of us having a little bit of fun with all of the terrible news that's going on.
There is no indication of aliens or extraterrestrial activity with these recent takedowns. Again, there is no indication of aliens or terrestrial activity with these recent takedowns. Wanted to make sure that the American people knew that, all of you knew that, and it was important for us to say that from here because we've been hearing a lot about it.
But I will say that there is a glorious message that is found within it. So it doesn't matter if there's some super secret plans that are going down. It doesn't matter if that terrible catastrophic spill has something to do with zombies. What? Ha! Because of course it probably doesn't. And this isn't one of those shows where I'm going to tell you, hey, this is what's happening. It's really more of these, there's a lot of stuff that's very suspect going from the Super Bowl on out to what's going on today, and I think we need to discuss it. So let's start off with the Super Bowl. For the first time in a long time, I gotta welcome a lot of you new people. Ho ho, it's a beautiful thing. The subs are going up, it's a beautiful thing. I did my Super Bowl prediction show, this show right here, just a couple of days ago. Turns out, I would say probably like 98% of it turned out to be exactly what I was talking about. Like all happened, everything. From the halftime show, which was all about birth, Rihanna, right? Right over there, jiggling around, doing stuff that people are saying, oh, it's not really appropriate. She was 3 months pregnant. Isn't that interesting? Because we talked about something meaning birth. Dressed in red, looking all menstrual-like. Then all of the guys that are dressed up, everybody's like, oh, they're hazmat suits, which maybe they are. To me, it looked like a bunch of sperm. That's right. Looked like a bunch of sperm trying to impregnate an egg. Birth. Something's being birthed today. Something in the world. The whole show was just so incredibly symbolic. Ironically, the numbers that I picked, they didn't add up, but I told everybody, I said, look, I was kind of forcing it because I thought it would be cool. But once again, 3 points. 3. That's the number for resurrection on the third day. Christ rises, right? 3. Last year, same thing, 3. Last year, at the very end, this year, 38 to 35, which actually means something, by the way, in scripture. You know, if we use those Strongs, has to do with being made white. Being made white, though your sins be as scarlet. But it seems like a lot of celebrities lately, they've been dressing up in red, like all red. Sam Smith, he did his thing looking like the devil, right? It's a common theme. There were tweets going around saying, does this look familiar? And you see it again and again and again. Symbolic. There's something going on. It feels like there's something going on. But what's weird about all of this stuff is that it happens at the same time that this terrible tragedy happens in Ohio, where the train's derailed. And I don't know if you're aware, but it's like really toxic, and animals everywhere are passing away, and it was not being really covered in the mainstream news, but it's very strange. So what does this have to do with zombies, right? Because of course, it really, on the surface, doesn't seem like it has to do with zombies, but I figured, why not have a little bit of fun? And think about this. A little while ago, I talked about, a couple of years ago actually, about the plague that rises from the dead, the mink. And we just talked about it on the last show, this right here. After I do this show about the mink everywhere, a bunch of people in Ohio say, hey, I'm in Ohio. I'm worried about these mink now. There's like 40,000 of them set loose. What's weird about these mink? Think about this for a second. When they found one of them, they found a squirrel and the mink was like eating the squirrel's face like a zombie. I know it's thin. I know, but in the mind of a writer, I think to myself, well, of course, maybe there's more to the story. Now, this is what I think, because I talk about this plague that's rising from the grave. I talk about that show where there's a mutant plague that's going to rise from the grave, and I think, oh, what if that's the next one? That's what I was talking about on the show. What if it's like something like that? Because, of course, in the book of Revelation, in Revelation chapter 9, there's a passage that talks about where people, they're going to seek to die, but they're not going to be able to die. It's weird. But why would this be a thing? Well, there have been all these weird balloons, these spy balloons, right? And they've been going all over the place, and they finally shot them down. Now we have all of these other unidentified objects that are being shot down. We don't know what they are. They're not really saying. But you know what's strange about all this? Is that as I'm questioning these weird things in my mind, Mark sends me a video of how Japan actually bombed the United States. You know how they did it? With balloons that were carrying biological weapons. Yeah, terrible. So then I think to myself, well, what if there's something in those balloons and it's passing over? What if that's the case and they need to contain it? Of course, that's not really the case, but it is strange. It is strange that you had, 40,000 mink loose, like just escaped? Where did they escape from? Was it some facility that they were working on some terrible things? I don't think that's the case, but if we're just going to pretend here and we're going to write a movie out of today's events, that could be it. The minks, they're like zombies now running around. So what do they got to do? They got to contain it. How do they contain it? They smash something that kills livestock everywhere and poisons the water. Now, I'm not saying that's the case. Of course, this is really silly to even think about this. I was going to do a video with Vlad. I was going to have him come in and do it as comedy. There's just so much to this, right? Then you marry that with Damar Hamlin showing up at the Super Bowl wearing a zombie Jesus on his back, a jacket of Jesus looking like a zombie. The number 3. Here we are again, the number 3. He's wearing this jacket, which Defeat the Elite sends me all of this info, and he tells me that it's from an artist known as Takashi Murakami. And he actually made that jacket for, guess who? Travis Scott. Right? Travis Scott. He had the concert. Looked like everybody was entering into the mouth of hell. And the terrible tragedy happens there. Travis Scott. So this artist, by the way, is known for his statues of demons. That's right. That's, and other things that are pretty disgusting. That's him wearing the jeans with the SEX on them, right? Because he's so hip. But he has a series of 9-foot-tall demons, lizards, and grotesque entities, as well as a lot of phalluses. You know, phalluses, they're like peepees. On his jacket, of course, it says the word eternal. But it's like the capital E and the T, they're capitalized. It's like eternal. So maybe we take this to another level. Maybe this has to do with aliens, right? Of course, U2, they did a whole thing during the Super Bowl. Their little Achtung, baby, their new tour is coming out. So they are playing this ad right there where there's like spears showing up everywhere. And at the end, there's a baby and he says, Achtung. You know what Achtung means? Danger. Danger in German. Something's up.
Just leaving out from a classified briefing, and no, I can't tell you everything that was said in the briefing because it was classified. Biden administration does need to do several things. They need to be able to tell the American people the story of actually what they're shooting down. This is not a weather something that's out there that someone has asked for. So this is some other entity, other entity.
Let me say it again. This has been going on for a long time.
How long?
At least 2017.
Appreciate it.
Lock your doors tonight. Lock your doors tonight.
I put on Twitter kind of a goofy little thing. I put a little tweety tweet out there because, of course, it reminded me of the movie Super 8. The 8, you got the Ouroboros, right? The Super 8 movie where they had an alien and it's all about aliens. There was a train derailment, but nothing like that movie White Noise that everybody's talking about. White Noise, where it's in the same town. Ironically, there were people that were extras in the movie White Noise, which is about a terrible toxic chemical spill in a town in Ohio, and they interviewed the guy. But here's the thing. There are animals everywhere that are dying.
Walked up to a cage and this is what I found.
Amanda Brashears was going to feed her 5 hens and rooster this morning when she discovered them all lifeless, practically in the same position, with no signs of a predator entering their enclosure.
So I think to myself, because I'm a writer, I said, what if there's something else going on? What if those mink were part of some terrible experiment or something really bad? Or what if those balloons were like the ones that were like those bomb balloons in 1945? Kim Jong-un, the leader, he said that the virus of the crown, he said that it was sent over in balloons. That's right. They're always joking about the big one that's coming next. They were talking about how mink, the big new plague that could be coming is because right now it's mink are getting the bird flu. Of course, a bird is like a phoenix, and of course, a phoenix was all over Travis Scott's thing. Phoenix about the rising from the ashes. Just so happens there was a really cool video of somebody taking a drone and flying a phoenix out and about. And of course, Elon, he said how cool that was. You know what else Elon did, which is strange? Before all of the fishy and all the animals started to die, he put out a little tweet about, I think it was Cher Bear told me about this, because, this morning before I came to do the show, I'm at the gym and I'm like, Lord, am I supposed to really goof around and talk about all this weird stuff? And then, of course, somebody points this out to me. He put out a tweet about poison cheese that was out for the animals, for the rats, but the humans ate it too and then they died. It's like kind of like saying, animals are being poisoned. So the question is, why are they being poisoned? Why is there all this symbolism about zombies everywhere we go? Got The Last of Us right now on HBO. Great series. But why? Speaking of Elon's tweets, around the same time that this whole thing went down in East Palestine, Ohio, this terrible tragedy. Terrible! The America's Chernobyl, they're calling it. Around the same time, he puts out a picture of Deus Ex. I talked about it. A video game, by the way, that has to do with zombies. And he said it's not supposed to be real. I think there's something going on. Now, whether or not that it has to do with these minks that are eating the squirrel's face, whether or not there's something that's gotten out of hand and they're trying to shut it down, it's not really the point. Because, of course, if that was the case, we'd never know. But it's gotten to a point today where everybody thinks that the aliens are going to show up at the Super Bowl. It's gotten so goofy because 2020, they waved the virus of the crown in front of your face. Then 2021, they waved the cure in front of your face. Then 2022, they raved the war over your face. And now what? Aliens? I don't know, but I got to tell you something. All of this stuff, it is incredibly suspect to me. And the fact that you got politicians like Ted Cruz retweeting a painting of himself as Dionysus or Bacchus, the god of they had the Roman feast the Bacchanal, where everybody would get wasted and they do terrible things and they'd, violent acts, and it was all about debauchery and people got hurt. There was a whole thing about this, celebrating the Bacchus, because he was the god of the harvest. The harvest. What if there's some kind of harvest going on? Because we're spiritually in that last harvest. Do you think that zombies could possibly be a thing? You got to tell me in the comments section, because I don't know. I just think that would be something you would do. If you had something getting out of hand, you would have some kind of terrible, catastrophic thing that, just makes the air toxic. And there are videos of chickens that are like miles away. The lady, they're alive one day, then they lit all that stuff on fire. And they probably shouldn't have, because what it does is it just turns everything to hydrochloric acid, basically. I don't know, I'm not a chemist, but her chickens died.
She believes the smell following the detonation of the train carrying chemicals that derailed in East Palestine is to blame for her birds' sudden death.
My video camera footage shows my chickens were perfectly fine before they started this burn. And as soon as they started the burn, my chickens slowed down and they died. If it can do this to chickens in one night, imagine what it's going to do to us in 20 years.
So as I'm processing all of this incredible information, and I'm thinking, wow, this would make a great movie, I remind myself that really the only zombie that matters are the people that are walking around right now not knowing that they're more than this world tells them they are. There's a movie, I think it was 2013, called Warm Bodies. It's like a romantic movie about zombies. They fall in love. But by the end of the movie, love was a cure. Love. Love of all things. Isn't that interesting? So I don't want anybody thinking that there are going to be some people that are going to come on out and, even though a lot of the Super Bowl commercials had a lot to do with, eating other people and people's families, as I talked about in my prediction show. Even all that stuff, there's a deeper kind of zombieism that is prevalent in the land today, and it needs to be healed. And the best way to do that is to love people, forgive them, have compassion on them, not think the worst. Maybe instead of thinking the worst, what we do is we look at things like I said in my show. I said that there's, the See Red is the stadium, State Farm Stadium. They have that billboard that says See Red. And someone pointed this out to me, I think it was Cher. I think she sent me an email that Moses is going to part the Red Sea. Maybe it's just about the Red Sea being parted. Maybe it's about the things that we're going through and the things we're about to face. Maybe God's going to make a way, and we shouldn't think the worst, and we shouldn't be too scared. And if we see a mink coming up eating a squirrel's face, I'd say call animal control and don't touch it. All right? Yeah. And if somebody says brains, I want brains, you should probably run the opposite direction. All right. I love each and every one of you. Please do, pray for the people that are in Ohio. Like all of you that watch that are from Ohio, if there's anything you need, put it in the comment section. I don't know what I can do, but maybe we can come together and we can help each other. And be careful, especially with the days ahead, because there's one derailment after another. It just seems like they're just nonstop, and it's kind of a bummer. But sometimes things need to be derailed so we can get them right back on the right track and the right course to life and not death. So please do me a favor, hit the like, comment, share the channel around. It helps like you wouldn't believe. If you want to get some merch, go into the description of the video. You can get yourself all the coffee cup or the shirts. It all helps. Get yourself a copy of The Calling as well, which I'd appreciate. And have the best day ever. And enjoy this trailer to my novel. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
September 10th. Mars hangs closer to the Earth than it has in 6,000 years. Like the light that led men from the East to a child in a manger, it could well be a sign of good things to come. Thomas James shall be his name. The world will change because of him. In the small town of Bethel, in a time not unlike our own, a child with a great purpose is born. Years later, alienated by his peers and abused, Thomas suffers a devastating loss. When it appears he has nothing left to live for in the world, this is when his true calling begins. While trying to escape the sinister powers that be, a terrifying vision haunts him. Miraculous events seem to follow the peculiar young man as he struggles to come to terms with what he was born to do. The stage is set. The time is at hand. The truth will rise and a revolution will begin. The startling revelation of who Thomas James is, truly, will change the lives of those around him and set off a chain of events long ago foretold. There is more to this novel than one might think. Inside these pages hides a treasure just waiting to be discovered. So if you've ever wondered if there's more to life, or why it is we suffer, then this story will not only captivate you, it may just open your eyes to a truth that could set you free. Find out what is in us all that makes us heed the calling